Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. We've got an update on the Clayton paternity scandal. Clayton has a legal fund, which I set up on his GoFundMe. I have a legal fund, which an audience member of ours set up on my behalf. We're going to discuss both of those, the merits behind them, as much transparency as I can offer. I did a lot of private DMing with people last night. A lot of people had questions about what's going on. And I have to tell you, I'm going to be as open and honest as possible, but also I have to cover my own ass and protect any sort of moves that are being made that might benefit me to keep them quiet for now. I ask people to, maintain as much objectivity regarding what's happening, but I also want to share as much as possible. So Wednesday night at 9:35 p.m., I got this Thursday morning. So I got this yesterday morning. I got an email with the subject line, injunction against harassment filed. I'm not going to share the email with you guys, but I'm going to read it relatively verbatim. I'm attaching proof that I just submitted the required documents for a TRO, which means a temporary restraining order, and a permanent injunction against harassment against you due to your smear campaign against me. The order will be filed and served tomorrow. Tomorrow being yesterday. It wasn't served. I'll explain why. I've asked several times to stop spreading falsehoods and relying on hearsay sources who I have protective orders against. The judges granted those for good reason, despite what you have said. Regardless, it is now in the court's hands. It is in the court's hands. Now, they denied her attempt to file that paperwork yesterday. I have hired legal representation. I had some that were giving good legal advice, but outside, just general legal counsel that were helping me out, friends of the channel and friends of my, family. And now I have to hire specific counsel in California. And I have done just that. So a lot of people saw that this GoFundMe came out, and we're going to talk about this, so just hang tight. I made this one about Clayton, and people kind of were like, all right, good on you, Dave. You made a GoFundMe about Clayton. Well, yesterday, during my private live stream, patreon.com/Dave Neal, we discussed a lot of people saying, hey, Dave, let us know when it's time for people to rally around you to be able to offer some assistance in getting the right legal help. Tuesday, Clayton was in court. It was publicly streamed on the Maricopa County Supreme Court, or whatever the website was. And we watched it. I think probably about 10,000 people or so watched it. I am not legally allowed to share that court case with you, even though I have a copy of it. Just about everybody recorded it. I didn't record it, but I have a copy available to me if I need it. I have asked the court for permission to share that for press reasons, as Clayton and the person that shall remain nameless are both considered public figures. She's verified. She's a media personality, really, is what she is. I have asked the court if I can have a copy of that, and I have yet to receive a response. My fear is that I just emailed some, dead, dusty, nobody, email account, and these things seem like they're very hard to get anything accomplished and reach someone on the phone and all that jazz. But the goal was to just show everything playing out in public. But what we saw Tuesday was that Clayton thought that because he had what he believes to be his truth on his side, his evidence, and all of the evidence he's acquired, he thought he could just march into court and share that, and that he'd win. All right, case closed. Clayton wins. But it's not as easy as that. He received dozens of objections from the other party's lawyer, and it was quickly realized that Clayton needs help to fight this fairly. The following day, Clayton went to court for what I believe to be the order of protection. It was almost like he wanted an order of protection against her. She wanted one against him. What is an order of protection? It's essentially a restraining order, which means for 2 years there has to be no contact. Now, Clayton might argue, I've not tried to contact her at all. I've got her blocked, and I'm just responding to all of this BS. Now I'm receiving, or, it's in the mail, depending on if she got her paperwork right. I don't know. Did she spell Dave wrong? I don't understand what could have been wrong about it, but it looks like it'll be in family court, which, again, I don't know how. I've never met this person. I've never said this person's name. I've never done any of this stuff. I've never encouraged any malicious action towards this person. In fact, it's the opposite. I'd be the first person to donate a GoFundMe to get this person whatever help that may help them live a happy and healthy life. I will go over there and comb this person's pet. I will braid this person's pet's hair just to, put a smile on their face. So when people say, Dave, what's the big deal? You don't need a legal fund to defend yourself here. I cite Clayton. So Clayton, I think, lost his case on Wednesday. Now, this is where it's complicated. The case that was live streamed Tuesday will finish up next week. The case on Wednesday, he lost. She has a order of protection now against him. I can't tell you exactly what that means in Arizona, but I'll tell you what it means here in California. When you get one of these restraining orders, known as a protective order, it prevents a specified person, known as the protected party, from harassment or abuse by another person, known as the restrained person. Spouses, ex-girlfriends, ex-boyfriends, cohabitants, family members, roommates, co-workers, and even pets can be protected parties. It doesn't say anything about power recappers. Now, there are different kinds of restraining orders: domestic, elder abuse, workplace violence, and things like that. What does a restraining order do? That person has to stay away or move out or move on or be a certain distance from and all that. But it also does some other things here, and I don't know if I can show that here, but it also, in the state of California, prevents the person from owning or buying a firearm. And who knows? I don't know. Does it affect your clear status at the airports? I really don't know what else it affects, but it's not something you want to have on your back for any frivolous reason. Now, the other interesting aspect to having a temporary restraining order put on you, or have a protective order on you, is that the party that gets that, if it's frivolous, and by the way, it can be frivolous, and the judge can err on the side of caution and say, you know what, I don't know, let's just go ahead and, because there's a case where, and I have to be careful the terms I use, but there are cases where, like in Clayton's example, he wasn't allowed to present evidence that may have shown that he didn't do what he was being alleged to have done. That evidence wasn't even presented in court. Boom, case closed, next court case. Now, what's the issue with the court system? With all respect to the court system, there aren't enough judges. There isn't enough manpower and bandwidth for the court system to work appropriately. We know this on all levels of the court system. We have immigration issues. We have issues that clog the legal system for years. There are people in the legal system still from years ago, from before I was a Bachelor Nation recap podcast, a power recapper here, that is still in litigation, still in the courtroom, still clogging up the system, that still exists with the person that Clayton is in court with. So are there 2, 3? Am I the 4th parties that are being dragged through this? When does it end? These are questions I ask. These are questions that the audience asks. So for this person to say, I've asked you several times to stop spreading falsehoods and rely on hearsay against people I have protective orders against. I don't necessarily value those protective orders that she has against other people, because I don't know in which conditions she got those orders and the validity of those orders. So she uses those protective orders against people. So let's say she gets one against me and I show up in court and I go, I've never met this person. I've never seen this person's name before. And they say, you know what? Out of an abundance of caution, never talk about this person again. Well, then we have a First Amendment right issue. And what I would like to get from a judge maybe is to say, if I continue to never say this person's name, if I continue to never offer any identifying features about this person, can I continue to cover this case publicly on my channel? This isn't me picking at a scab that is fun to pick at. This is a person who we cover within our community that is struggling. So some people said, well, Dave, you're not an investigative journalist because you're clearly biased towards Clayton's side because you're offering a GoFundMe for him to fight this. And it's like, I can't argue against bias. Of course, we cover Bachelor Nation news. But if the evidence ever does point in the other direction, we for sure will cover it. Now, this person asked me to stop talking about them, and then this person got upset when I didn't cover the fact that they won their protective order against Clayton. It will be used by this person to prove that they are right, and there becomes so many documents and legal proceedings and evidence that it actually becomes so murky that it's hard to see your hand in front of your face. It's so murky out there that people are having a really hard time even knowing, like, wait, what's this story? So yesterday, I was forced to call my mother, whom I love very much, and explain to her why there is an order of protection being served against me. Now, I hired a lawyer, and it was after hiring that lawyer that I found out that the order actually wasn't being served yet. They said maybe it'll be tomorrow, which is today, or Monday. And I said, well, will this prevent me from doing X, Y, and Z? And I've had to ask all these questions. So after we had Clayton's GoFundMe raised, someone created one for me. Now, it quickly raised $6,000, thanks in large part to two very charitable $1,000 donations from people within my community. Here's some of the pushback that I received, and I don't have to respond to this, but in good faith and in goodwill, I want people to know. People said, he hasn't even been sued. He hasn't even been through the court system. Why does he deserve this money? And it kind of makes the conversation a little muddy. The same 3 or 4 or 5 people were saying, this is so grifty. The fact that he makes one for Clayton and the next day he makes one for himself. I didn't make one for myself. But I do understand people that want to audit what's going on. Every dime spent will have proof of legal paperwork and whatever's going towards this. But it's important for the person who's coming after me now to know that they are not fighting somebody who can be silenced in the private eyes and no one knows the real truth. We're doing this publicly as much as we can to show that we have an army of people that believe in the truth and that want to see it pursued, even if it costs a lot of money. And again, like other people have said, look, it's not going to cost you that much money, Dave. We don't know that, right? We've received a cease and desist. We've for the men that are several years into a legal battle that may cost upwards of a 6-figure amount. We just don't know. So I had to hire the lawyer to find the records and the paper trail for what will become the papers that are served to me. I believe the service she used expedites the process, which, and I could be wrong, but people looked at the service that she's using, and it comes with a 2-hour minimum of $95 an hour, or maybe it's $195 an hour. But that is the price that she has to pay to make sure someone gets this paperwork to me. Again, I could be wrong, but that's looking at the website. And people go, how do you even know this? My lawyer said, how do you even know she's serving you? Well, she sent me the receipt. Why would she send me the receipt? My belief is because A, it's part of a game to her, and B, it's kind of part of the intimidation she wants to show. She wants to be able to walk into the courtroom or actually do this digitally and just go online, file the paperwork. I don't know if it's daddy's credit card. I don't know whose credit card it is, but you know, when you have the funds, you can do these types of things. And boy, I think she's underestimated this whole process with regards to how loyal and dedicated our audience is to finding the truth. So people said, oh, Dave, that you've raised too much money. Clayton needs the money more. Well, I said, I think we're good. I don't know, but I think we're good. When our bill gets up to around this amount, maybe we'll open it back up again. But the GoFundMe has been paused. And here's an update from the wonderful lady named Lauren who set this GoFundMe up. Update, thank you very much to everyone who donated. We are putting a pause on the donations for now. If you still would like to donate, please donate to Clayton and help our dancing king. Show him that you are here for the right reasons and accept this rose. And of course, then it is a link to Clayton's GoFundMe. So some people have said, Dave, you make $350,000 a year. Why do you need this money? To my response is, first of all, that's not true. So, and this is where I get myself into trouble. I'm such a supporter of sharing what makes content creating worthwhile. So I'm in podcast communities and YouTube communities, and someone asked, how much does everyone make a week? And I accidentally gave what I've made my top month, in a week. And somebody saw that and said, Dave, you make that times 52. You make this crazy amount of money. That's not true. But I don't want to get into the specifics of you make this amount versus this amount. That has nothing to do with the fact that people have generously wanted. And again, I know this makes people upset. Dave, don't even mention this. Don't even talk about it. I want to be as open as possible. Like, things have gone well for the channel. And when I mention that the ad rates are down up to 50% this year, people go, oh, you're complaining, That's like, no, not necessarily. I'm just showing, and I've been transparent with both my YouTube and podcast and how the money is tied to the economy. And while the GDP is looking good and the economy is looking good, the ad rates are down this year. Talk to any YouTuber. The things that we do to make our money, waking up at sunrise and working all day, and I work 4 or 5 people's jobs. I make 4 hours of content a day. So when some people that look at it with a cynical personality, they go, wait a second, you donate to his GoFundMe, you sign up for his Patreon, you guys are part of an effing cult. It's hard to respond to that, but everyone who's in the Patreon, everyone that has been a part of the community, everyone who's part of the Facebook community. We have Jen who posted that last year she asked me to write a roast for her wedding, and all the things that go on sort of behind the scenes. We don't have a cameo. If anyone has ever DM'd me asking for a birthday shout out, that 100% happens from every podcast we do that benefits the other podcast and others. Like, I understand and I fight for the elevation of other content creators. That's why I get so mad when people like Nick Viall don't credit She's All Batch. And I get mad at the injustice, because we all should be part of a family here in the Bachelor world. And most of us are, as evident by the GoFundMes. But what you learn is it's still a lot of people out for themselves, which is why close to 0 people have donated to Clayton. I don't care if people donate to me or not. Close to 0 have donated to Clayton. You have Reality Steve, who has donated to mine and has donated to Clayton's. You've got Blake Horstman. You've got Michael A. They both have donated to Clayton's, and Susie Evans. And you start to see the people with Bachelor data that are supporting these legal funds, that know what is at stake here. If I lose the order of protection, is it that big of a deal? Well, what's next? That's the question. If you don't nip this in the bud, what's next? I'm the type of guy, trust me, I went 10 years without health insurance when I was driving Uber and having mild panic attacks on my lunch break while I'm trying to write a screenplay between my minimum wage jobs. Those have existed. I did background work on every show you could imagine in New York City, both union and non-union. You go Law and Order, season 5 through 20, whatever. So I stood in on I saw Meghan Markle's eyes. I worked on Suits. Okay. I did all these things, which are low paying jobs. I did all these things for a very long time, and I have such an appreciation for those in the content creator community that work really hard. I struggle right now with bitterness at the lack of content creators in the Bachelor world that have covered this story, because it puts an unneeded amount of pressure on me, one of the few people that is covering this. Okay. I thought very hard when I aired that sonogram video, which showed medical fraud. I thought very hard. I had lawyers look at it. I don't take this lightly, guys. But I have to look at myself in the mirror and go, what's more important? Not talking about this at all and letting Clayton get fried, which it appears to be that's what folks like Almost Famous, folks like Viall Files, it appears like rather than take a stance, having seen what they've seen, rather than talk about it at the very least, they've decided they're just going to not have the conversation because they're afraid to get into a lawsuit. So all of that comes on good old Dave here. I'm not asking for anyone's pity. I'm not trying to play the victim here. I'm just trying to show people that this money and the naivete of people that think it is not needed will go a long way. And I will show the receipts every step of the way, as I've done for this whole court case, which has got me in this mess in the first place. Now, do I regret any of my coverage? Not a damn ounce of it. Not a damn ounce of it. But I have made videos private to try to please this person. I have tried to cover it as objectively as possible. I've never mentioned their name. And when is enough? Well, we've learned so far that it's not in dealing with this privately. Now, it's in the court's hands. I'll be back after this on Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal. And if you want to donate to Clayton's GoFundMe, he can use your help. There'll be a link in the comment section below.